Hey guys, welcome back. Thanks for coming to my channel today. Well, welcome or welcome back. If you're a new visitor here on the Nick Agenda, hi, nice to meet you. Thanks for stopping by. What the heck? If you've been here, if you true to this and not new to this, today I saw. Okay, so this originally started because I saw a short on YouTube. It was Kev on Stage, the black male comedian. He was referencing a thread, which is like the Instagram, Twitter, or whatever, for those who don't know, that was like, men who don't cheat, what's your secret? And he said that his response was, his secret, which I'm sure he was just also being like funny or whatever about it, was his response was he I think what it boiled down to was he was just trying to say that he makes the active decision to not cheat. He only has intimacy with his wife, and when he's not with his wife, he just calls his wife to talk to her, and then he goes to bed. And that's it. Which I'm like, cool, good answer, sure, awesome. But I feel like my answer is you need to dig a little deeper as to why you're cheating. And that's the real answer right there. There's this whole rhetoric of manhood equates how well you can beat women down physically, emotionally, and mentally. And I think that's one aspect to why some men cheat, because they like the praise it makes them get from their male counterparts and peers, because it makes them feel more of a man to have such a strong sexual desire that you need multiple people to satisfy it, or that you like to tear women down and like to make them feel like shit, and that's one aspect of it. My other answer is a lot of y'all are gay, which everybody wants to like prosecute me for saying that all the time, like, Nick, not everyone is gay, but like, I'm sorry, y'all have yet to prove to me that you're not. Let's just start there. Realistically, I think a lot of men don't have the capability of forming emotional, and I'm talking like cis hetero terms right now, but a lot of men don't have the capability of forming emotional ties with women. So because they've reduced women to an object in their head that they have like a physiological response to, in the sense of like, if your body looks like this, and if you are characteristically what media or the Western mind deems as like desirable, then my body has a reaction to you, meaning I want to have sex with you, and that's it. There's nothing more than that, and that's why they get in these relationships and they can't stop themselves from being lured into temptation or lust of the flesh. And it's like, it's really just because you don't actually emotionally like women. If you were emotionally connected with that woman that you claim to be in a relationship with, you wouldn't even feel the desire to want to have sex with anyone else. You would just be emotionally locked in with her, and your body would only really respond to her if you truly had only emotional ties to her. I think another huge aspect that people also don't want to recognize is that, as a society, we're sexually traumatized. Men, women, non-binary people, everybody is sexually traumatized in some way, shape, or form. That doesn't mean that you've had sexual assault done to you. And like, trigger warning for saying that. I'll probably put a little clip before I start talking about this saying that, because I don't want to trigger anybody. But I think a lot of the media that we've seen from a lot of the times from when we were young are sexually traumatizing to us. So a lot of us in society have a hypersexuality that, if you don't unpack, just leads to harm in relationships and leads to harm to yourself, and you don't understand why, and you don't get why you can't stop yourself from being just so hypersexual. But it's from either an actual essay that occurred to you at some point in your life, or the media we consume. Like, from when we're young, like, you typically see like movies or commercials, or sexual innuendos in TV shows, even cartoons from when we were kids. Like, a lot of these things, I do think, alter the mind. And when you're growing up in that type of environment, where it's like every TV show you go see, every TV show you see, every movie you go see, there's like a sex scene, or there's talk of sex, or just like demonstrations of it. I think that sexually traumatizes the mind, because then you equate sexuality, which it is normal and healthy, but you equate it to like something that's like constantly present or constantly like thriving and needs to be like addressed. Whereas in reality, I don't think it's normal to think about sex that much. I don't think it's normal to be like, oh, I have to have sex like 6-7 times a day. And I'm not trying to like shame anybody here. I hope you guys are actually getting the deeper message I'm trying to convey. But I think overall our society is just very sexually traumatized, because you can't explain to me why people think it's normal to go see a movie like Nosferatu or something like that. That is supposed to just be like a scary vampire movie, which I didn't watch it, just to make that disclaimer. I'm not interested in watching it. Uh, Nothing about it appealed to me. But from what I heard from everyone, there was like a very weird but also traumatizing sex scene at the end where it's like, the main female protagonist is like basically sacrificing herself to like kill Nosferatu, this like wrinkly, like disgusting looking like vampire or whatever, but it's like a sexual scene. This should be a movie about vampires. It doesn't even need to be in there. Even Sinners, a movie I loved so much, and like I do think that there were like reasons why they put the sex scenes in there. I think there was like deeper meaning behind it, but I feel like inadvertently it also showed the same concept of like, almost like say for example in Stack's case, him and his lust and like sex led to his demise, because like he folded like a lawn chair like as soon as she was like, come on, whatever, blah 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 blah, like, you know and that's how he got bit. So, I do think there is a deeper meaning, but I just think overall, if those two scenes were taken out of the movie, it still would have been fantastic. It still would have been a really good movie. Well, there's like 3 different sex scenes, but if they were all taken out of the movie, it still would have been a really good movie. But I feel like it doesn't get as much critical acclaim because society is so hypersexualized. They need to see sex in a movie to think it's a good movie, for whatever reason. For whatever reason, I'm not gonna say every movie has it. Like, I don't know, y'all loved Barbie, and like there wasn't a sex scene in that, but you know, overall, if you think back to most of the the movies that got the biggest like award spread, or like the most talk or critically acclaimed or whatever, there's almost always a sex scene in it. And for the most part, if you really think about it, we could have taken that scene out and there wasn't really a need. Like, it didn't promote the plot, it didn't push anything, or they found a way for it to push the plot because they wanted to include a sex scene in there. Which, if you go back to like historically, most of the people who make media a lot of the times are these cis hetero white men, which I think they're the most like sexually deviant of us all. But I'll get into that conversation another day. Whatever. I'm trying to stay on topic here as to why, this guy is on the internet talking about like men who don't cheat. What's your secret? It's not a secret. It's just actually find a woman that you have an emotional connection with. And if there's actual barriers to that, you need to ask and be honest with yourself. Do I have the capability of forming emotional connections with women? Because you can't have like been through like 300, 400 plus women and been like, yeah, it's just always them. It's not. I promise you, you are the problem. Even if your number is like 1% of that, and you've been through like, say like 10 women or something like that. I know that's not exactly 1%, but you get my point. It's not, you can't tell me that every single time it's them. It's something with you. Mentally, there's something you need to unpack. A lot of y'all also have like mommy daddy issues, and like that you decide to carry with you for your entire life instead of like unpacking and like getting to the root of. And that also causes you to be like, oh yeah, well my dad left when I was 2, so that's why I've cheated on every single woman I've been with since I was like 15. Okay. Oh yeah, my mom didn't love me, so that's why I like wish all women would die, but like I want to have sex with them. Like, you said that phrase out loud and you thought, I'm a normal functioning, emotionally regulated human being. Like, no, just get help. There's a lot of resources. I know it's not something that's accessible to everybody, but there's YouTube. You can start doing the work of like looking into some of those things and really listening to the think pieces people have put out about these things. You can start looking up, educational resources, or, there's, and obviously education is a barrier to some as well. I'm not going to pretend like literacy is not a problem, but, you know, you can, if you can't read it, then like there's like audio versions of things available. Like there's just ways to start learning, unlearning, and unpacking some of these things. And we can't just continue as a society to just perpetuate the same problems that we've been experiencing for generations. And like, I think we also need to address too that like men for the longest time have just used like their relationships with women as like a way to like solidify their status in society. If you are like a cis hetero man and that's how you identify, and you're single your whole life, yeah, obviously people will still make excuses for you and stuff like that. It's not 100% the same, but when you get married and you have like a wife, you enter a different level of status in society, and we can't pretend like that's not a real thing. There's just a certain status quo of like, oh yeah, like no, I have a wife, like, and it just, for some reason, it opens doors, it gets you into certain places, but it's really, I think, just other men recognize that like subconsciously you're willing to uphold the patriarchy, which allows them to continue in a position of power. So, when you actively do things against that, it's seen as like threatening to them, in my opinion. That's just what I've observed. I'm not 100% sure on that. This is my, hypothesis that I'm giving to you guys today. But moral of the story is it is not hard to cheat, especially when you like unpack the aspect of like sexualizing women. Does not mean that you like women. It means that you view them as an object. And I'm like, sexualization goes both ways. Like everybody gets sexualized, but it's not something that we should promote doing or we should continue to doing, because that's what allows people to be like cheaters and like, just be like, oh well, she was just looking so bad at the club and my girl wasn't there, how could I not? Like, if your girl's not there and you're not thinking of her, you don't like your girl. Like, it's not, it's A plus B equals C, guys. It's 1 2 3. It's not as hard as everyone wants to make it seem. Like, it is not hard to not cheat. And if you find like you really do struggle with it, you need to figure out for yourself why, and do that outside of a relationship and not with like putting another person through this trauma just because you don't want to like take time to figure yourself out. So, as a man who does not cheat, it's not hard to not cheat. Y'all just want to cheat. And you just need to be honest with yourself about that. Just don't be in a relationship. Or, I mean, there's people who are open to polyamory. There's still ways to cheat in polyamory, from what I understand. But, there's, like, ways that you could go about living the lifestyle you want to live that's, like, ethical. But a lot of y'all just thrive on causing chaos, realistically. But that shouldn't be anyone else's problem. So, yeah. Get help. And this has been a message from Nick. Thanks for watching, guys. Sorry, I just keep, getting on the internet to just like tear people apart. But I'm like, some of these things need to be said. And like, I'm tired of thinking it and not putting it out there for people to like hear it. Like, I'm sorry. It's just the facts. I'm just the messenger. So I'll catch y'all in the next one.